These are the units that you should be picking for the Marsh Creation Raid. Welcome back to Corky Gachas, and in this video, I'm going to make a Marsh Creation Boss Raid tier list. I'm also going to be releasing a tips video to complement this video to make it easier for you guys to obtain a high score. Now first, before we go into the actual good units, we want to eliminate those that are not good. And for this one, Marsh Creation in particular, I'm going to say that all of these units that I've listed over here are not advisable. Starting with 37, outside of Sea Serpent Raid, honestly, Genesis damage is not as good right now, and also she is AoE focused. Single target is not her forte, not advisable. Hence, over here, Jessica, similarly, she is being counted because the boss is Beast Afflictors, and also negative status is going to be removed by the HP bars remover for all raids, right? So in general, raid content, Jessica is not advised to be like the main carry, and she is AoE focused, so not great. Similarly, A-Knight here, no little mobs for the A-Knight to actually scale with the ultimate, giving rousing morale and also to accelerate the Muxi gain. Very bad overall over here. Sotheby is because she's being countered by Beast, and honestly her heals are really not the best, so adding on to the fact that she's being countered, there's so many better options as healer to use, and negative status is not good. Her debuff card is naturally already not good, so coupled with that, not advisable. Juvis, you can't control the boss, half the kit gone. Lastly, regular, she is probably borderline B, but I think in general, AoE focus, I don't think that she's going to be advisable for this when you have much better options, right, in Beast Afflictors and Mineral Afflictors. Now moving on to our B tier, so over here you can see all of these units are, in my opinion, in the B tier, including X as well as Liliac, starting with DK. DK, honestly, not a good unit in general, very mid-low stats, and also there are better healers that you can use, albeit she's being boosted by Beast. For Sweetheart, the problem is that she's reality DPS. In general, for this raid, the reality defense of the boss extremely high, so you don't want to bring reality DPS. On top of that, despite her being Beast Afflictors, she relies on having debuffs to actually do bonus damage to make her relevant. Hence, focus around a raid that doesn't have any significant boons around debuffs, you're not going to want to bring her. Similarly, for B-Con, debuffs in this raid is generally not good. On top of that, you cannot seal because all the bosses uses Eureka, and also she is reality DPS. New Bebel's problem is that despite her being favored for the raid as Mineral Afflictors, the fact is the boss only have 1 AP, so you can't counter much, and also the buff card, although good for using as Dispel, it is not that relevant compared to other units whereby they can do damage and also have buff cards, right? So this is why she pales in comparison. Click-wise, he is extremely niche, and his ultimate doesn't do that much damage. It's AoE focused as well. Despite the fact that he's able to dispel counter, I still don't think that this makes him as good to bring, and also someone that you want to raise in general. Lilia, she suffers from the fact that she is reality DPS, despite the fact that she is single target focused, still not going to be as good, and also her follow attacks is going to suffer 2 times from the fact that the boss has high reality defense. Hence, really not favored over here. Now moving on to the rest of the units, I'm going to slowly break them down between the rest of the 3 tiers that I think are good. First one being Necrologist, I think she deserves S tier over here. First being that this is a raid that favors Necrologist. Her damage wise isn't that bad per se, and her attack is relatively high for a 5-star unit. And on top of that, this boss really relies on you having positive status, and if you were to cast ultimate one time, prayer counts as a permanent positive status. So from that end, you only need 1 other positive status to really stay afloat the 2 positive status threshold. So Necrologist really good, and on top of that, having the damage increase buff is going to be extremely premier for this raid. So all around, Necrologist is a good unit. Pickles is a S+ tier. So I put S+ tier because I think that a lot of units, right, after I seen are more on S than A, so I decided to create a new S+ tiers to highlight the best units, and Pickles is the best unit you can put here. He's able to dispel the counter, he's able to give the damage boost, and on top of that, being AP generous is really extremely good, since the other favored units in this raid are AP greedy, and also he is by himself able to do great damage. So being able to buff himself, unlike Necrologist, is also why he's in S+ tier. Really premier unit that you want. If you have Doggo, just bring him for this raid. Next, Bulletin Party, easy S tier, one of the best healers, and for mineral focus raid, you definitely want to have Bulletin Party being able to sustain even further, right? And also the boss does a lot of damage effectively, meaning that at the end of the round, round, you are oftentimes going to be at very low health. So having a HP heal based on the lost HP is going to be very beneficial. For Melania, I'm going to put her easy S+ tier. Of course, I think less than Pickles, but she is extremely good as a hyper carry in this raid, given the fact that Beast type Reflectors gets the bonus, and also she's extremely good at raids given the ramp up that she needs at the start. But after that, the later half of the raid, she's going to do bonkers damage, and she is single target focused. Hence, this raid is the perfect raid for her. For 6, I'm going to put him in S+ tier. Very easy S+. AP generous factor that is going to be relevant for all raids, right? And this raid really wants you to have buffs at all time. Him being able to give random buffs to the allies at the start of the round is going to be beneficial, of course not counting the debuffs, right? But most notably, he's able to upgrade the levels of the cards using the Empower Incantation. This particular raid wants you to have 2-star and 3-star cards, so you are able to dispel the boss's positive status to do more damage, means that he's even more valuable, right, just from his Eureka buff card. For Anani, she is an easy S tier. She's a straight up substitute for 6, and that's what he does well, right, similarly. So giving the stats up is valuable because of the damage that you're going to take, and also being able to upgrade a card so that you can Bulletin swap it to another card that is able to dispel away the positive status from the boss is going to be valuable. So really valuable here. The only problem, I guess, is being countered, but she does have the break time, being able to help with her sustainability. So even being countered, right, I don't think this is going to be a problem. Next is going to be our Medicine Pocket, and Medicine Pocket is going to be an S tier healer in my opinion, and the reason why is because this raid favors the Beast type, and also she's able to provide sturdiness, and I think Marsh Creation Raid is one of those raids that hit you the hardest, right, aside from the Sea Serpent raid. Also, she has a single target ultimate, which makes her extremely good for this single target focus boss, right? There are no other creeps, so really valuable, and generally heals a lot, even more than 2 Fairy on an active factor, right? Of course, from a passive end, not as good. Now we have a heavy hitter in our Kalawana. She's the best of the best for this raid, simply because she has everything in her favor, right? She hits extremely hard even for normal content already. Given the fact that she has the Afflictor's bonus and the 30% extra damage, she is straight up the best hyper carry for this raid. So definitely S+, no need me to say more. Now we're going to 2 Fairy. 2 Fairy, surprisingly, I'm going to put her in S because this raid really likes you to give buffs, right? So I think she's not that much better than Balloon Party or Medicine Pocket over here, just with the additional debuffs, right? But other than that, not too special. So I'm just going to put 2 Fairy over S tier. Next, Voyager, I'm going to put her in A tier. The only reason she's here is because she has the sturdiness factor, and also the counter card can act to dispel the bosses, the positive status, right? Like I mentioned, it's very valuable in this raid to be able to dispel. It really matters a lot. Hence, she's in A tier. In general, the damage she provides are not that good for this raid since Genesis damage is not being boosted, but still, she is somewhat relevant, right, being a mental type user as well. Now, next, I'm going to touch on Horrorpedia. Horrorpedia is going to be a very surprising unit. I almost wanted to put him in A tier, and the reason why is because he's perfect for this raid. First is mineral type, so he benefits from the 30%, he benefits from the environment, and on top of that, with his rank 2 card, with his Insight 1, he's able to dispel counter as well. So a perfect unit just like Pickles to dispel. The only thing is that he doesn't do as well compared to Pickles when it comes to the damage front and the damage boost, but he is still a mental DPS, meaning he's favored for this raid, and also he does more damage if you are able to ensure that the boss have no statuses on him, right? So this is extremely good already. You can just normally dispel it with a counter card, then use a Horrorpedia card. He's going to perform extremely well, and his ultimate, despite being AoE, inflicts a fear status that increases the mental damage that you're going to receive, that the opponent is going to receive. Hence, you really want to put him in if you do not have other options, right? Of course, if you're the best of the best, you don't need to raise Horrorpedia just for this, but he is a surprisingly good pick for this one given all of the counters that he provides for this raid. Moving on to Charlie. Charlie, easy A tier, and Charlie is A tier because she is mental DPS, but on top of that, if you have her at P3 and above, she can help a lot from the damage front despite not being favored by the Afflictors. She's one of the strongest 5-star after all, and also her ultimate dispels everything including counter, so this is also why I think she deserves A tier, right? Next is going to be Centurion. Centurion, honestly, I'm quite tempted to put her in B tier, but I think she's like the end of A tier. First, she's reality DPS that's being countered by this read already, despite being favored for Beast Afflictors, and she is AoE focused. Now for Charmin, I'm going to give him A tier. I think similar problem to Centurion. So Centurion and Charmin are similar in this raid context. Reality DPS not favored, but they are being favored by the Beast Afflictors, which makes them a bit better. Charmin have the debuff cut, but it is being nerfed for this raid specifically, right? So honestly, you don't really exactly want to bring Charmin, but you cannot neglect the fact that both of these units are Beast Afflictors being boosted by the raid environment itself. So I'm going to just put them in A tier. Next, we're going to have Eternity. Eternity easy A tier. Although Eternity is one of the worst DPS in the whole game and being AoE focused, you still have the Afflictors bonuses, you still have the environment bonuses in her favor, so she still is somewhat relevant, right? At least she is better than Centurion from this run, so I'm going to put her in A tier, but not the best, of course. Now we're going to have Soneto. Soneto is easy A tier. Soneto, in fact, better than all of this trash. You really don't want to use this DPS, but for Soneto, you can use her as a replacement to Anali. So it's like a packing order, right? 6 into Anali into Soneto. So Soneto gives the 2 buffs, which makes her decent for this raid, and also have the disarm card that you can definitely use to disarm the boss. So from that end, she does what she does normally already, right? So the only factor lacking is that she's not as AP generous compared to Anali, unable to upgrade cards, and of course not going to be as good as 6 that can passively do more things than her. And lastly, for Tannen, usually I'll hate on Tannen, but for this raid, I think she's quite good. I definitely think she deserves A tier, and the reason is because her shield card, right? Marsh Creation Raid being one of the most hard-hitting ones. 1 turn shield probably is going to get used up if you time it well, and also despite her being reality DPS, she's able to apply the reality defense debuff herself so that she can kind of ensures that she hits decently, and she is rather single target focused. So this is why I think Tannen is an easy A tier. So I hope that you benefited from my tier list over here, but of course this is by selecting units, right? You still need to have some practical tips to actually score higher, which is why definitely check out this video where I touch on the practical tips to actually tackle the Marsh Creation Raid. I'll see you guys over there. This is Corky Gachas, signing off.